East is where we're from. The 12 tribes of Israel. In 721 BC, the Assyrian king, he took us down, we fell. With a great escape we went through the Euphrates. The Lord held the water still. To a land where no mankind dwelt, we went. The 12 tribes of Israel. That's who we be, we be.
Manasseh, the Cubans.
Come on.
Ephraim from Puerto Rico. Naphtali from the Isles of Hawaii.
The Lord is calling back Israel.
Zebulon from Panama. Gad, the North American Indians. Simeon, the Dominicans.
The highest gathering Israel.
The Arabs and Africans told us
At gunpoint.
together our wives and children then sold us.
In the belly of these great ships we traveled in fear. By the rivers of Babylon we found our brothers here.
A high gatherer
Asher in Colombia. Reuben from Australia. Issachar, the Mexicans.
The highest gathering Israel.
The Negroes. Benjamin, the West Indians. Levi, the Haitians.
the highest gathering Israel.
Come on, brother.
Asher in Colombia. Reuben from Australia. Issachar, the Mexicans.
That's who we be, we be.
Judah, the Negroes. Benjamin, the West Indians. Levi, the Haitians. Manasseh, the Cubans. Ephraim from Puerto Rico. Naphtali from the Isles of Hawaii.
The Lord is calling back Israel.
Zebulon from Panama. Gad, the North American Indians. Simeon, the Dominicans.
The highest gathering Israel.
Okay, brothers and sisters. The Most High is gathering Israel. I'm Elder Rikash Yar of the Gathering of Christ Church. I see some familiar faces in the building. First of all, I would like to say all praises be to the Most High again. Ahaya Bahashim Yeshaya Warawak. I'm Elder Rikash Yar of the Gathering of Christ Church, here with a new installment of what? The Mark of the Beast report. Okay. Now, I do apologize. Some of the videos that you all may have come accustomed to viewing here since the beginning of Patreon, some of them are no longer on the page. Okay, and it's because under Patreon guidelines, I guess under the pandemic, there's nothing that we could say that put out there to dissuade people from what their own, as they claim, decision when it comes to medical attention. They cannot be swayed one way or the other outside of what's out there as far as mainstream. So if we talk about it tentatively, okay, if we speak about it tentatively, then okay. But it can't be as if we're persuading someone not to make a choice that they deem could save their life under this as far as medical help goes. So we're going to leave it there. But we can still teach the truth, the Bible, and touch on what? The mark of the beast. Okay, and where things are progressing as far as the Most High is concerned, according to the Word and guide those who would seek the truth with the word. Okay. Okay, I see some new people in here. Shalom, Larry. How are you? Okay, if you may, I need you all to at least put something in the chat for those who are present. Okay, put something in the chat as far as let us know you're out there so I can interact with you. Right now, let me load the comments. Of course, it's a lot different than what we've all. Let me see. It's a lot different here on Patreon as far as the layout. YouTube is way more transactional as far as the chat goes. You're just chatting and interacting. All right. So unless you load more comments, okay, so you can put comments, hellos or whatever in the comment section. But in order to see more, you must hit reload. Okay. Load more. Okay. Okay. We have Yashaz. How are you? This so-called Friday morning. It's me. How are you? Shawawana, Larry, Jennifer, Cousin Esau. Okay. Cousin Esau, Roosevelt Middlebrook, Tyrone Ford. How are you, Tyrone? And T Honey. Oh, yeah. Someone says, did they get Patreon too? Well, listen. Under the Beast system, really, there's not too many social platforms they can't get to. And the only reason why is because under FCC compliance, in order for a lot of these other platforms to actually operate, they must be under some level of compliance with FCC. So that's that backdoor way of making sure that, you know, that if the company want to continue to thrive, they must comply to some degree. So I'm gonna respect Patreon's wishes. We complied with their wishes to take some of the stuff down, but it's not going to preclude us from breaking down this truth and giving you the information that's needed. All right, because we are going to touch on the mark of the beast all through this, and I'm going to open up lines 515-605-9327 in a moment to discuss this. Okay, let's jump right into it, which is really our 5th weekly Mark of the Beast report. Okay, now I need y'all to all check this out and make sure that when you get this information, you let families know, let the people know who are not on Patreon, you know, what's really going on. Okay, the world is in some serious trying times, and on top of that, we're in what Second Baruch calls the stupor. And one of the events or prophecies within the stupor, brothers and sisters, is confusion. Confusion. So it's no coincidence that at the same time the Most High said we will be in a stupor. Now it's the powers that be, it's their opportunity to seize full power while the whole earth is in utter chaos and confusion. Order out of chaos. Order out of chaos, which is the New World Order's motto. They create I wouldn't say they create it. They create the scenario in which people will voluntarily participate in the chaos. See? They create the stage. They're not forcing anyone to do anything. The tree of good and evil wasn't forcing Adam and Eve to do nothing. See? But the stage was set for them to make a choice, to indulge in the chaos. Now, some people might ask, well, break that down, Dr. Ricard. What do you mean by that? Well, Christ tells us in the Bible that light and darkness has no union. Neither is there a union good with evil. So you're either on one side or the other. But suppose someone put a choice in front of you to have it where you can flawlessly operate between the two and be absolved. See? Now, when truth and lies, or good and evil, coexist together, it makes something. Just like when male and female come together, it produces something. Well, and when good and evil comes together and operate in itself, it becomes chaos. And the chaos leads to death. So the Illuminati, whoever you would like to call them, I would say servants of Satan, ministers of Satan, have set up Babylonian systems in which, that's right, the population of the earth, Noah's sons and daughters, can now participate in this city made from that tree. Good and evil. Now let's examine it on another level. We have two separate worlds, right? Christ even told the disciples in his teachings, and it permeated throughout all of his churches, that one cannot serve two masters. Either you will hold to one and cleave to the one and hate the other. You must choose your master. Now, if you choose Christ, if you choose God as your master, that comes with rules. And through those rules comes some heavenly protection and knowledge to navigate. But the sacrifice, folks, is what? You cannot indulge in the evil, or we cannot indulge in the evil like we used to. There's laws for protection, right? There's laws for protection. Now, that's our master, the God of Israel. Now, a lot of the Gentiles under these religions have what? Another God who require obedience. He requires, Satan, he requires a certain honor system. Okay, on earth. There is an honor system under his good and evil. But there's other things that's required. Instead of on the light side, where the righteousness is required by God's law for those who would be righteous, Satan require what? He require, that's right, a blood oath. A blood oath that can compromise you if you decide that you no longer want to indulge in his tree of good and evil. You have all the perks of this earth, but it comes with a price. You are part of his army, all that. Okay? You can get let me give you an example of what I'm saying, brothers and sisters. We have to sacrifice our lives and can't indulge in this world like the rest of the world. And you know what? Because of that, a lot of us, sometimes it may upset us, whatever the case is, that our lives and those who are in the truth lives are immediately what? Boring to some degree compared to those who it seems like are having fun. Right? You see in the party and all these other things, and I'm gonna show you how I tie this into our topic to get today. The parties, the celebrations, the traditions seem like everyone is having fun. But just like our father Adam and Eve, brothers and sisters, nothing given in that choice with good and evil. Everything you receive under this master, Satan, guess what? It's for a price. And more people are figuring out under this what they call plague or pandemic, that you're going to get a lot of things. But guess what? It comes with a price. So I'm going to tie it all in. Our God requires a sacrifice. So does the God of this world. Let me go to 2 Kings 17 real quick. I'm not going to be long. Not going to be long at all. And again, I thank you all for your participation, and on top of that, your membership under Patreon. Of course, I'll clip some of this and allow YouTube to see some of this, but I'll clip some of it and put it out there in parts. But all in all, brothers and sisters, I'm going to save some of what we're doing here for you Patreon members. All right. Let me go to 2 Kings 17 to show you that some of what the God of this world requires as far as sacrifices goes. 2 Kings 17, and I'm going to start at 17. Okay? Speaking of when the 10 tribes began to go off, our people in Israel, and began to worship Baal. 2 Kings 17:17 reads, and they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire and use divination and enchantments, and sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord, for to provoke him to anger. So yeah, Christ and God, the Bible requires what? A sacrifice. We can't indulge like the rest of the world. But so does Satan. Because in order for our people to actually enjoy the free life that was provided to them, like the Gentiles were living, that's right, a system had to be set up where a certain number of children are given to the priesthood of Satan in sacrifice. Even when the Gentile nations came over here, right? When the Gentile nations were placed in the land instead of the children of Israel, check out what they did in the land. It says in same chapter, I'm going to go down here. I'm going to go to, let's go down to, let me go straight to it. Let's go straight to the 27th verse. And the king of Assyria commanded, saying, carry thither there one of the priests whom you brought from thence, and let them go and dwell there, and let him teach them the manner of the God of the land. Then one of the priests whom you had carried away from Samaria came in and dwelt in Bethel, and taught them how they should fear the Lord. Howbeit every nation made gods of their own, and put them in the houses of the high places which the Samaritans had made, every nation in their cities wherein they dwelt. So they had to show obedience to the gods they were serving in the world. And these are the Gentiles who actually came in and began to benefit on our land, the Israelites' land. But what else did the Gentiles do? Heathens. And the men of Babylon made Succoth, Banath. And the men of Cuth, made Nergal. And the men of Hamath made Ashemai. And the Avites made Niphaz and Tartak. And the Sarvarvites burnt their children in fire to Adremelech. To Adremelech, the gods of the Sephardim. Okay. Now, a lot of what I'm talking about here is what you'll rarely hear in Christian churches, because why? No one wants to believe that a whole society of people, Gentiles, would stoop to such base levels for power. They would stoop to a degree where they'll actually deal with each other, husband and wife, in an agreement that the child that's coming in 9 months will be given over in sacrifice, either to priesthood, someplace else. It'll be almost an adoption setup. Some priests, because how are you going to fulfill the priesthood pool when their priests die? No normal people are going to just go and sacrifice children and all those things. So you have to raise up children separately to believe that that activity is normal. See? So this is how the Gentiles did it. They set up an adoption type setup back then, where before they can actually grow an attachment to the child, they would give the child over to the Babylonian priests or the kings, and the kings would raise them with the mentality to believe that sacrificing people and doing all these evil things are normal. See? Or altogether, sometimes they would give over their child straight to the system, and the system would kill them on the spot. Now, that's too heinous to teach in a civilized society like ours. Now, even though we know these priesthoods still exist to some degree, undercover, but do you think this stuff went away? But now they've set up cushy systems that will somehow get in the way to separate the children from the parents. Right? Now, if you can set up a system of good and evil and wickedness going on in a society that creates dysfunctional people, then eventually there will be a reason for the government to come in and say the child is better off with us than you. All right? That tree of good and evil, boy, it's still working, right? Well, now the protective services are coming in because they're caring for the child, and they want to actually come in because the evil means in that house, the house smells, and the parents they may be on drugs and all that. No one asked who created the environment where these parents would become dysfunctional like that. But you know what? That's right. Order out of chaos. This system loves the chaos because it gives them access to children. See? They can't tell you that these are old biblical rituals and that the priesthood that is really controlling things need children. They can't tell you that. So they set an environment so that what? You got it. There will be a conveyor belt of children through the chaotic system they have set up that will automatically give the state or the powers that be power over those children to be able to do in large and mass in plain sight what they used to do in ancient times. Okay? Train children with reprobate minds to believe how they're operating is normal. Why? Because these children haven't grown up to understand what normal looks like, what a traditional family looks like, to grow some level of sympathy and empathy in certain instances when it comes to protecting family, because they don't know what a family is. Order out of chaos. Homelessness, the division of family. Folks, everything comes with a cost. Nothing is for free. Everything comes with a price. And that leads us to where I'm going into now. Right? How does Satan get access to children? Well, if you can incentivize what? Separate households. Move the man against the woman. Right? Automatically, that child growing up in that single parent home is disadvantaged. And the statistics bear out. That child is disadvantaged in comparison to a child that's brought up in a not a two-parent household. That's how they usually twist that. In a traditional household, not two-parent, husband and wife, male and female. Those children that are brought up that way are leaps and bounds above any other children. And you notice the system, all on TV, try to push what? Try to push some level of congratulating and rewarding single parents. You notice that? And they know that child is disadvantaged, but guess what? That child will grow up with what? A dysfunctional mind. If not dysfunctional, at worst, unbalanced. At worst, unbalanced. And now the system can play on that imbalance. and use that child as a what? A weapon against the righteous. This is why freaks, craze, perverts, everything outside of the Most High now in the end times has been elevated over the traditional family. But I digress, which is a whole nother report. I'll go into that next week. Right? I'll go into that next week. But let's go now. Let's talk. One moment. Let me load more comments. I thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. Okay. All right, let's do it. Let's jump right into it. Our topic today: the homeless phase of the mark. The homeless phase of the mark. Now, some people might ask, Elder Ricard Shiar, what do you mean by the homeless phase of the mark? Hold on, that's Elder Gabar. I don't think he know that I'm broadcasting here. Let's see. Shalom, Elder.
Yeah, shalom, Elder Ricard. Quick question. Aria, the brother who gave me the gift was Elder Aria from Texas. I just want to make sure.
Yeah. It's Elder Aria from Houston.
Houston, Texas. Okay, I'll give him a call. Everything's good?
Oh yeah, I'm broadcasting right now.
Okay, all right, Elder. I'll listen in.
All right, bless you.
All right, shalom.
Shalom. All right. All right. Yeah, he had no idea. I didn't tell anyone that I was doing this. Now, let's go all the way in right here. Let's go all the way in. The homeless phase of the mark. Now, people are asking, Elder Ricard Shiar, what do you mean the homeless phase of the mark? Well, look at your screen. Look at your screen. Now, a lot of you don't even know that this news and these laws are being passed right up under your noses. And this is why, brothers and sisters, we have to appreciate watchmen, those who would get this information and let you know exactly how do the laws that are being applies to you when it comes to what? The mark of the beast system getting progressed. Unless you're following legislation, you'll have no idea that everything they're doing with these news circulations will immediately impact you, right? So I always use this word navigate because it's a great word, because we're not going to stop what's happening. But with watchmen looking at the news and knowing what to look for prophetically, it helps brothers and sisters navigate through it. Okay? Knowing is half the battle. Here we go. The homeless phase of the mark. Now, the homeless phase does what? Well, brothers and sisters, the homeless phase puts more pressure on people who are resisting. It puts more pressure on those who might resist otherwise. Okay? The homeless phase. Now, I'm going to tell y'all right now, folks, and let me look up real quick this word, mandate. Mandate. What does mandate mean? Mandate means an authoritative command. An authoritative command, especially a formal order from a superior court or official to an inferior one, to someone who's inferior. Right? That's what a mandate means, right? Mandate.
Mandate.
An authorization to act given to a representative accepted the mandate of the people. The third definition: an order or commission granted by the League of Nations to a member of a nation for the establishment of a responsible government over a former German colony or other conquered territory, right? Now, but the definitions we're going to go with is just the regular definition: an authoritative command which is over an inferior one. Now, what isn't a mandate? A law. A law isn't a mandate. A law is the law, and that's that. Which means, if you break the law, you will go to jail because it's against the law. A mandate is when the authority puts out something and one voluntarily follow it. Okay? And they follow the mandate voluntarily. Why? Because that individual believes that that's right. That mandate is in their best interest. But this is where our people, especially the poor people, are getting confused. They're believing that everything that's being said out there is the law. They really believe that. But in actuality, the news circulations and others are telling you it's not the law. It's under an emergency act, but this is what we're under CDC and all this other stuff. We must tell you these things because why? If something is out there that can harm you, you should have the information to make the best decision for your family. And guess what? If following these mandates is what will help your family, then keep in mind, it's your choice following the mandate, and it's not law, but it's for the best interest of you. They have the right to say that. See that? But a lot of people, because we don't know the difference, are acting on things as if it's law, which leads us here. That leads us here. Like, for instance, you have to understand, brothers and sisters, your constitutional rights. Constitutional rights, no matter what country you're living under, there's laws that govern that country that the politicians who enforce or who are supposed to represent the law, okay, stands for and must do what? Abide by. They swore to abide by the constitutions of any country. Well, they at the behest of those laws, and so are the citizens when it comes to the freedoms those laws, that's right, affords them. See? Now, if you don't know what your rights are or what the laws that protect you, what will happen? You won't realize when mandates or anything are rolled out that are actually having one, just give up voluntarily the freedoms that protects you. See? Now, why am I going here? Because something is about to happen to our people who have no idea. You don't have no idea what's coming down the pipeline. You don't have no idea, folks. I told people last year when they were giving out those stimulus checks and all that, be very careful in taking this stuff. Because if we've known anything since the beginning of time, the tree of good and evil, the master of this world have never given people anything without a price, without a consequence, without you owing him back. Okay? Then you had people in the hood running all these stimulus things and telling their family, even if they weren't working, hey man, they just giving out money. They were tracking every stimulus check. Every stimulus check has a code number to it, to who it went to. Knowing that if people tried to do this under some level of a scam, illegality, whatever the case is, that guess what? At the end, one would need to pay the piper. I told people about that, right? And then you had your PPP loans. Now, myself, outside of the church, I have businesses. Okay? I have businesses. Right? Why? Because what belongs to the church is the church. What belongs to the church is the church, folks. For the regions, that's why I made sure everything, the status was good, everything was right, so every cent would be accounted for. If I get a 10% from somebody giving that to me, guess what? I have to pay taxes on that. That's money separate from the church. The church belongs to Christ. Okay? Why? You know how it works. If someone gives 10% to the church and say it's the Gathering of Christ Church, they're able to use that as a tax write-off or a deductible with their taxes. Okay? So that helps them. With here it is, they get a deductible and all that. But guess what? On the other side, that money have to be accounted for. So I can't just take some money and say, oh, it's the Gathering of Christ Church. I'm not the Gathering of Christ Church. I'm an elder in the Gathering of Christ Church. So I keep myself separate when it comes to finances. It's a conflict of interest. If anything was to happen to me, the Most High forbid, I just pray that I make it all the way through, and I believe if I deal with wisdom, he'll grace me to. But all in all, I'll tell you this. I had to have businesses and all those things. Why? Because I can't expect the church to take care of my family if anything was to happen to me. I have to leave something so that my family, my children, my family could have something. And even before the truth, I've always worked with music and all these other things and business. You can't have the wisdom and knowledge and understanding of this, okay, and not apply that to other parts of your life. Okay? Now, I'm saying this to say that I have small businesses, right? Totally separate from the church. Okay, you can't do that. Okay, it's against the law to do that, right? It's against the law to use church to do your personal stuff. You can't do that. All right. Now, during the pandemic year of 2020, letters were being sent almost every other week to have me apply for a PPP loan. I said, no, thank you. No, thank you. Do you want some relief or some money towards your business? No, thank you, because that's you under this circumstances of panic going into business with a partner you don't want to be partners with. Because a loan implies what? That you are a debtor to a separate entity. So doing all chaos, regular money coming out. You want to apply for a PPP loan to sustain your business during this time of uncertainty? No. I said no. I'll stick it out. If this year or any other year affects my businesses, okay. Whatever. Right? But I wasn't going to go into business with a partner, because that's what you do when you take a loan, who's going to look to collect at the end of it. Then they would have PP loans, and you had people out there without businesses in the hood, folks, getting PPP loans. Okay? And those that are giving you loans aren't under the rules of the Bible. Forgive your debts. Forgive your debts as we forgive our debtors. No, that's the Bible. That's the Hebrew law, where every 7 years, if someone was in debt with you, you would have to free them from that debt. Not Satan's, not this master's, not this God's world. Okay? If he give you something, it's for a price. So that leads us to the homeless phase of the mark of the beast, because they set it up. They set people up, especially the poor, where they made people believe, brothers and sisters, they made people believe that you could stay in your house or your apartment as long as you want and not have to pay your rent. Now, what people was that going to affect? Who was going to take the government and others up on that? They knew this would disproportionately affect poor people, because every other person who understood nothing is for free continued to pay their rent and their mortgage through the whole 2020, regardless of the panic that was out there in the news. People were sitting back saying, man, I never had this much money. I got PP loan money, I have stimulus money, and I'm not paying rent. Man, I'm stacking. And the devil is sitting there, his horns is hitting the ceiling, looking at you saying, you know what? I'm stacking too. I'm going to be stacking you on top of you, on top of you. See? What did the Supreme Court say? Because there was a moratorium that told people that they didn't have to pay their rent. The last thing you need to tell poor people, I'm from the hood, North Philadelphia, right up the street from Raymond Rosen Projects. If you would have told me, man, I didn't have to pay my rent, people was all, what our brothers and sisters were doing in the world under this master, the master of this world. They was at the club making it rain. Women knew that they had the stimulus checks out there, so they sisters on poles. I'm like, yeah, I know they got the stimulus. Having private dance parties, twerking all over the place, people splurging, shooting dice. I know what was going on in North Philly. It was almost a Dave Chappelle skit. Y'all know that reparation skit that Dave Chappelle did. I'm rich. Yeah. Here it comes. U.S. Supreme Court ends CDC's, listen, pandemic residential eviction moratorium. Now, we thought when Biden said, no, we're going to extend this, or the CDC said that they're going to extend the moratorium, we thought that it would be against the law for them to kick people out. But there's three levels, 3 branches of government in the United States: executive, legislative, and judicial. And either of these 3 told you, according to a vote in the House, that you could live in your home into perpetuity without getting evicted. The CDC told you that. And the last I've checked, the CDC didn't vote anyone in. They just strongly suggested it. Right? And everybody said, man, Biden is the bomb, man. Look, we don't got to pay rent. Guess what? They knew the poor would do what? Would take the bite from the fruit. They knew it. And they sat there. They wanted the longer they string it out, the more debt and the more fragile our living conditions would become in the hood. Now, here we go. U.S. Supreme Court ends CDC's pandemic residential eviction moratorium. What does this mean for the poor people, folks? Our people. Because guess what? They sent me letters and said, well, since all this is going on, you don't got to pay your rent or your mortgage and all that. Would you like relief? The banks would send all that stuff. And I said, you know what? No, thank you. People who knew better, who had the means to do so, continued to pay their rent. And I'm going to show you how they tricked our people. Our people weren't paying the rent and had the money to do so. They were getting stimuluses and all that, unemployment and all that. So there was money to put something down on your rent. You don't have to pay it all, but at least pay it to a degree where it doesn't become what? A liability later. So they know our people had the money. So this is what the news started doing. They started putting out stories here, then the other of how people were taking advantage of the system. Not all the time. They were just putting it out there the whole time so that they can collect later. Collect what? Let's get to the ruling that was ruled from the Supreme Court. Washington, August 26, Reuters, which is mainstream media. The Supreme Court on Thursday ended the pandemic-related federal moratorium on residential evictions by President Joe Biden's administration in a challenge to the policy brought by a coalition of landlords and real estate trade groups. Now, what they're going to try to make you believe, CNN and others are going to say, brothers and sisters, it was the Republicans. So this is how they passed the buck. Well, Biden tried to keep you in the house, but it was the Republicans who kicked you out. And wrong answer. No one can tell you to stay in a house and do all these things from any branch without it being voted on the House and agreed upon as law. The Democrats or Biden had no authority to tell under this legislation to just tell people to stop paying your rent. Okay? He could suggest it. But in order for that to become law, he have to present a bill. And that bill must get what? Accepted and approved on a vote. But that was just a suggestion through him. Because he thought that saying that would be the right thing to do, and that some landlords and others would listen to this and say, well, you know what? Yeah, there are people suffering. Let me lose my house or let me lose my property, after going over a year without getting rent to the banks. He thought people, they knew this was putting pressure on landlords. So yes, out of the kindness of his heart, Joe Biden said that I extend what the CDC said. Okay? But now, here it is, here's the trick now. They knew that there was no legal right under the law for this suggestion. I'm reading it right here. The U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday ended the pandemic-related federal moratorium on residential evictions imposed by the President Joe Biden's administration in a challenge to the policy brought by a coalition of landlords and real estate trade groups. Yeah, because these guys are saying, if I don't get rent, I'm going to lose my property. Now, under Agenda 2030, somehow in this agenda that's out there allegedly, eventually under a socialistic type living, the majority of people in the United States will not have property. According to agenda that's out there. Whether or not it's going to happen, I don't know, but I'm just saying that's an agenda out there and it's been spoken about. Agenda 2030. Now, I don't know how this is going to play a part of this, but people are obviously, there's landlords and others are saying, I put a lot of money in this property. If I don't get rent, I'll lose it, right? So now they're passing a buck and trying to blame landlords. Turning what? The tenants against the landlords. When it was the people who voluntarily refused to pay rent. You see how they're pitting the population against one another? The justice who in June had left it in place a prior ban that expired at the end of July, granted a request by the challengers to lift the moratorium by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control provision, the CDC, that was to have it run until October 3rd, right? Which means even if, brothers and sisters, the Supreme Court didn't pull the lever on this thing and revoke it now, it would have still been revoked by October. That means all these people who didn't pay rent would have had to pay the piper October the 3rd, knowing that they cannot kick this mandate or this suggestion, proverbial can down the road into perpetuity. They knew this thing had a ceiling on it, right? And it says, the challengers argue that the law on which the CDC relied did not allow it to implement the current ban. It strains credulity. It strains credulity to believe that this statute, see how I say statute? A statute, brothers and sisters, is not a law. So you have to look at these words, these legalese, that this statute grants the CDC the sweeping authority that it asserts. The court said in an unsigned opinion, if a federally imposed eviction moratorium is to continue, Congress must specifically authorize it, the court added. That's right. So now the Supreme Court said, listen, y'all have to deal with what? Y'all have to deal with the Constitution when it comes to imposing on property, or what they would deem upholding freedom, justice, liberty, and the American way. You cannot press upon someone's property and have them lose property under what? Under a mandate, under a statute, under a request. He says Congress didn't tell us to do this. Right? Then it says the 3 liberal justices on the court, which has a 6-3 conservative majority, all dissented. The White House said it was disappointed by the decision, which means that's right. The presidential wing of the three-winged bird, that's right, the executive, legislative, judicial, has now been trumped. No pun intended. The White House said it was disappointed by the decision and urged states, local governments, landlords, and cabinet agencies to urgently act to help prevent evictions. The High Court had signed in June that it thought that the moratorium was on shaky legal ground. Shaky legal ground. There was no legal ground for just putting out their blanket and telling people not to pay their rent, because the poor was going to get affected by this. Our people weren't saving up for a rainy day in case what? In case the United States government changes its mind and say, no, now all this debt. Now they know poor people can't go 2 months, 3 months without paying rent, without the threat of eviction. And you're going to put people under a 1 year, almost over a 1 year debt? So what will happen now? What's the consequences for biting that fruit? And that's such a policy needed to be enacted by Congress rather than being imposed unilaterally by the executive branch. The CDC first issued a moratorium in September 2020. Now, mind you, the CDC isn't any branch of government. They get the authority to suggest strongly during a time of an emergency. But no one voted in the CDC. See? But I'm going to show you all of these components were working in conjunction for the outcome that's about to happen. They're passing the buck. The CDC says, listen, I'm not at fault. I just suggested that since people couldn't go out, why charge them rent? Why charge them mortgage? And then those who own houses and all that was saying, well, okay, I'll take certain checks, being a landlord, that will give me some relief. Right? But these were all landlords getting what? In bed with government for government when it comes to their property. Everything I'm saying is what it is, right? The CDC first issued a moratorium in September 2020 after a prior one approved by Congress expired, with agency officials saying that the policy was needed to combat the spread of COVID-19 and prevent homelessness during the pandemic. Okay. Under political pressure from Biden's fellow Democrats, the administration August 3rd implemented a somewhat narrower eviction moratorium 3 days after the prior one expired. Liberal Justice Stephen Breyer said in a dissenting opinion that the outcome of the case was not as clear-cut as the majority suggested, and that the court was not justified in ending the moratorium so quickly at a time when COVID-19 cases are surging. Now, citing the CDC, he said that a surge of evictions could lead to more infections of the virus. The latest moratorium covered nearly 92% of U.S. countries, those deemed to have substantial and high levels of virus transmission. The policy was challenged in federal court by realtor associations in Alabama and Georgia, as well as landlords in those two states. Okay? Now, what does this mean? What does this mean for our people? One might ask. Well, let's go over here to 2nd Esdras. Let's read what it says in 2nd Esdras real quick. Right? Second Esdras reading. I'm at 2nd Esdras 14 and 14. It reads, let me put this over here. It reads, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction that draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." You see how they're trying to set up roadblocks and all those things, or not roadblocks, but you see those signs on the road, okay? That if you ain't been tested or this, that, and the other, you cannot come into the city or the state. That happened all the time during 2020. "For there should be sedition. A man shall," I'm at the 17th verse, "a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation." So what happens hypothetically if for some reason certain parts of the population, city population, mainly poor people, are homeless, losing their homes, and hold on one second. Hold on. One second. One second. So, I'm sorry about that. So what happens here if people, folks, are homeless after getting put out, tent cities? You've seen that as a precursor of what's to come during the time of what? During the time of the election, when in all the great cities and all the major cities in the country, they had tent cities out there in the midst of Center City. All the major cities allowed homeless and others to be there during the riots. Remember that? That was just getting people's mind adjusted on what's to come. Predictive programming to have us adjusted to the sight of poor people living in the presence of the city. Now, what happens if one area is deemed quarantined because the cases are out of hand? Quarantined to the degree that no one else can come into the city because what? The disease or the plague has spread it beyond control. It's going to lead these people within the city under what? You got it. Survival mode. Now There's a subculture in our community that exists that the excuse for our debauchery and evil and self-destructive behaviors is always what? I got to feed my family. We hear this from drug dealers and all that. Well, listen, what else I'm going to do? I got to feed my people. So imagine that mentality multiplied 100, 1,000 times in a city where no one can come in to help the people because it's quarantined. Eventually, there'll be a lack of bread and people with weaponry. With weaponry, folks. Under the survival of the fittest, preying on the weak. The Bible said this would happen. Man, it's cold how they're doing this. But here's the point that I wanted to bring out. And then I'll open up the calls. Man, Second Esdras be dropping it. Then it says in the 29th verse. The 28th verse. Behold the horrible vision and the appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth. Now, folks, you seen last week or a couple of weeks where they would just out of a sudden, out of nowhere, they came up with an Afghanistan narrative now on CNN. Well, all you hear of Afghan, and United Airlines sent airlines over there because the Afghanis are trying to leave the city and all that, and America coming in with relief to try to help them and fly them into America. All this ties in together, brothers and sisters. Where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth, flying over into America. That they all that which hear them may fear and tremble, and also the Comanians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of Assyria. And then shall the dragons have their upper hand in remembering their nature, and if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them. Then these shall be troubled and keep silence through their power and shall flee. Now listen to this real quick. Let me get it here. Right here. 39. And the strong wind shall arise from the east and shall open it, and the cloud which be raised upon it in wrath, and the stars stirreth to cause fear toward the east and west wind shall be destroyed. The great and mighty cloud shall be lifted up full of wrath, and the star, that they may make all of the earth afraid. And them that dwell therein, and they shall pour out over every high and eminent place and horrible star. That's talking about bombs being strove throughout the earth. Fire, hail, flying swords, and many waters, that all fields may be full, and all rivers with the abundance of great waters, tsunamis. Right? And then it says, 43, and they shall go steadfastly unto Babylon and make her afraid. So at the end of the Middle Eastern wars, we'll be hearing about Middle Easterns doing what? Being flew into Babylon. The Afghani narrative, the same times as the plagues. This is why they took out Second Esdras out of the Bible, folks. It's like CNN and mainstream are going or are using all of these stories, which is actually paralleling the events in order from Second Esdras. That these people are going to come over to America. The poor is already suffering, can't pay their rent and all these things. And then on top of that, you're going to bring in new immigrants. Where are they going to stay? And what ideologies are they bringing with them? So now the narrative may switch, we'll see, to the terrorism that was in Afghanistan has now resurfaced in America. You're going to start hearing that narrative. And then suppose those narratives begin to where they'll say that, well, this new group of ISIS-K or whatever they call itself has now began to recruit the poor people in the cities who have been now doing what? Revolting against government, mad against government because they've been kicked out. Now they're being recruited for the sake of survival, bread and water. And now there's a black group in all these cities. Black extremists in these cities now. See? You have to look for the signs because why? There's nothing new under the sun. Eventually, our people, even our people have set the standard, folks, of how to recruit these children, leading back to the children of Moloch. Drug dealers are always able to get soldiers. Why? Because under the dysfunctional area that they created for us, there's always going to be a child suffering with a lack of bread. Literally. So that atmosphere has already been created through the gang culture, the drug culture, where there is always another soldier, and that these kids that come up to them because their mother was on crack, their father wasn't around, and now to survive, these children are being recruited into gangs or become what? Street corner thugs for the sake of survival. Well, suppose now Afghanis and all these other people are now over here and they began to offer our people what? Substance to live. We may hear of all of these things as a result of what started in 2020. Right? But here's the piece. 2nd Ezra 16, then I'll open up the lines. And this is why it was upon our pastors in these churches. They should have been teaching this, folks. This is talking about us. At the end of the day, all of these prophecy leads to what the Bible calls Jacob's trouble. It doesn't matter the events may start in China, may start in Afghanistan. At the end of the day, these are all plans to keep us confused, while the directive for destruction are the children of Israel. This is why it was upon our pastors to let us know, the Bible said this would happen. I'm going to drop this on you all so that we can navigate to it, knowing that there's nothing that can stop prophecy. When the Most High says something is going to happen, his word does not come back void, which means it will happen. We will die in number. There will be a destruction, but the watchmen were to do what? Provide shelter, spiritual shelter for the righteous and those who would choose the God of all gods. And not leave our people out there confused, giving them the choice for refuge. And that refuge comes with the knowledge of the Bible on how to navigate through trouble. 2nd Ezra 16 and 37, behold, the plagues draw near. The plagues draw near and are not slack. Plagues are what? Diseases. Diseases. And I know everyone want to highlight what we're under now, the bear virus. But these, there's always been bad flus. Flus were taking out a lot of people before the bear virus. There's always been the common cold, which is the original, as they would state, base place. Hold on. One second. Okay, is it charging? Yeah, it's charging now. Yeah. There's always been, brothers and sisters, right out. There've always been viruses. And you have to keep in mind just like the flu, and they began to bring forth what they would call, the jabs for it or the vaccines for the flu. And every year there's a different variant. Therefore, each year they would suggest, okay, there's another jab. Well, the table have been set to where now we're talking about this particular thing, which is really something way different and more virulent, as it was claimed. We can only, after viewing the patterns of how they dealt with flu, we can only begin to know that they could do the same thing with this. Where the same way there's every year there's a flu shot. Well, nothing now. They can just do that with this too. So the reality of the matter is there's a chance that this will be with us, which is the campaign and all that we see, like the flu has always been with us, with the same, what you would call medicines for it. So I'm not looking for anything to go away. I'm looking for things to intensify. So because I know things may not go away, I cannot get caught up in the fear and what's all out there. I have to stand on the word and stay in the word and not be swayed through all of the talking. Because the more talking we hear, the more afraid we may become. And through that fear, we would make a decision, folks. And keep in mind, not once have the government forced anyone to do anything. Everything people, even those who've agreed with this and are following everything that they're being suggested to follow, they weren't forced. It's all voluntary. It's all voluntary. But what I'll do, going back to my original premise for those who missed it, I got the laws of God and I have to understand the laws of the land. And when what I voluntarily participate with infringes on either of the two, and use that in my defense to preserve family. See? I follow the laws of God. So I put in my body, I do whatever the Most High say do according to, and everything I always measure with the laws of God first. The Bible is my rock. And then when it comes to my what? Constitutional laws, because I pay taxes. I have to know whether or not if I'm volunteering myself to something that's infringing on the freedom that I've paid for. Okay. So I measure all those things together and make a what? A conscious choice. I make a informative choice, because if we learn anything with this housing moratorium ending now, is that what they're saying out there can change every day. And when they change it, on the other end, after making a decision, we'll say, well, hold up. You changed it, but I made a decision on what you said yesterday. Right? They can, when it's mandates and all those things, that can change at any time. They can say, we implemented what we implemented with the knowledge we knew at the time. Now, with this knowledge, it can be in a totally reverse, but this is what we're doing now. Progressing everyone towards what? Everyone towards a new world order. And with that new world order, only thing we have to do is go read the Georgia Guidestones. It's not like they didn't tell you what the New World Order's plans were. So you have to make an educated decision, starting with the laws of the Most High first. And then any constitutional freedoms that are also agreed upon in God's law. And not let anyone take those freedoms, right? But the powers that be aren't taking freedoms at all. The people are volunteering their freedoms. I need y'all to realize that. The people, not once did the government force anyone to do anything. Okay? So don't look at me. If you went and did something or whatever because they were saying it and thought it was whatever, guess what? That's between you and your fears. The government never forced anyone to do anything. Neither did employers. Employers never forced their employees to do anything. They told them about the mandate. Which would put pressure on people who are thinking, how will I survive without my job? When your job said, listen, it's a mandate. And another thing they put out there about the FDA and all that, all you have to do is call and see whether or not it's FDA approved. But I'll leave that there. That's on you. Now, here's the piece that I wanted to talk about here. 2nd Ezra 16, and it states, listen to this, brothers and sisters. For there shall be in every place in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. For they shall waste and take away their goods, and cast them out of their houses. And do what? And cast them out of their houses. One moment. Let me get it again. Let me shut this off here. And do what? Cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. That's going to be the trial for those who claim they were down with the Most High. You're going to have people who were strung along the whole time and did everything that they were what? Urged or suggested to do. And that's what I'm going to use that word, because no one ever made anyone do anything. It was a test of wills, a test of faith, and a lot of people failed. And at the end of it, you did everything they said. You didn't pay your rent, you didn't pay your loans, and now the landlord is coming to do what? Yank it from up under you, and you're going to say, well, hold up, you're going to take my living too? Then it shall be known who is what? Let me read it again. Then shall they be known who are my chosen. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. Hear ye, my beloved. Hear ye, my beloved. This is God, Ahia, speaking to us. Saith the Lord, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. The Most High didn't give me this knowledge just to drop it for other people to say, man, this guy got some knowledge, man. He be dropping it. Nah. He gave us this understanding to have the knowledge of what's to come, to navigate through it and get delivered. And as a watchman, I'm supposed to deliver that information, because I know that with delivering this information, the Most High is going to what? He's going to bring forth what? He's going to bring forth a number of believers who will help me, as I will help you sustain through these troubles. We have to understand who our friends are. And during this trying time, a line is being drawn where everyone out there, you got to find out who your friends are, because you're going to need your friends. And those that are making enemies, they're going to be out there alone and will not make it. So I thank the Most High for this position, because in doing this, I'm seeing it all. And the Most High is not only showing my friends, he's showing me my enemies too. And there's no way everything we're preparing for and people that are preparing for and what we're dealing with is going to be for those folks. who will come in, and eventually they'll come in with that same mentality to destroy inwardly. I thank the Most High for this moment, because I understand that we were always strangers. We were always homeless, and we were pilgrims in the earth. This tabernacle, we're going to be out there 7 days, out there on the land, folks, in preparation for what's to come. And guess what? We're going to be like that all the way to the wilderness. We were homeless already. And for the strong, we understand that this is one step closer to home. Once we become homeless here throughout the earth, that's going to be one step closer to Zion. But for the people that haven't prepared, they're going to fall victim to the beast. And because I'm going to tell you, Satan is going to come in with what? You got it. A temporal resolve. Well, I'll tell you what. You don't have to be homeless. We can come in and relieve this for you. We can relieve it for you. If you follow what we're saying, it because we're not going to force you to do it. And eventually you must take the mark of the beast. And you can keep your home until we require something else from you and threaten your home again. It doesn't stop, okay? It won't stop. Okay, how it works? Yes, we'll come in and relieve you. No moratorium. We'll pay your landlords. We'll hook you up, give you a line of credit, money, all that. You want to stay in that place? Bow to Satan. Bow to Satan. And we're going to always keep this over your head, that if you ever step out of line, there's a chance you'll lose what? Your dwelling place. Okay? High level blackmail on the highest level is what the earth is under for those who can't see. Again, for those who missed it, man, I'll tell you, I love these reports, man. I love these reports. For those who missed it, the U.S. Supreme Court ends CDC's pandemic residential eviction moratorium, which means all the poor people, our people who thought that they didn't have to pay rent and all that, not mortgage and all that, and thought that they was going to live and just pick up when the government say, well, okay, y'all can pay y'all rent now, are now under fire, because once this happened, we're going to witness eviction notices like you've never seen on the earth before. Tent cities all over the place. And then they're going to ramp it up and say, because of all this homelessness, who knows? They may say, well, now that the plague is really on the rise now. The virus is really, these people are not, they're living out there with no cleaning, no hygienic interactions. This stuff is going haywire. Who knows? We need to quarantine not just a house. We need to quarantine a whole area from them. And boy, it only gets worse from there. Again, let me end it here. That was our report for today before I open up the lines. 2nd Esdras 16:72, for they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. And cast them out of their houses. The U.S. Supreme Court ends CDC's pandemic residential eviction moratorium. And for all of our people who thought that we had a free check through stimulus, we had PPPs that now they're going to say it was fraud and come against our people with that, more debt. On top of that, not paying the rent. Now you have to go 30 days notices, 2-month notices. You have to go unless you pay back a year worth of rent. It's the Bible prophecy. It's the Bible precepts coming into fruition. Y'all, none of us just understood how they were going to bring it, but it's here. It's here. It's here. The mark of the beast. Pressures are on. And keep in mind, I'm going to say it again. The government, the news, the CDC, your employer, your doctor, No one forced you to do anything. During this whole thing, there was never a time where someone said, you better do this or that. Everything that people have complied to up until this point was total complicit. Voluntary. So anything you lost in exchange for your freedoms, your sovereign freedom under God, and even the sovereign freedom on the land that you've paid taxes for and built. Okay? Even those laws. You chose your choice and mandates over those. And that's all I have to say on that. Then shall they be known who are my chosen after being put out of the house. The Bible said it would happen. The Bible said it would happen, and now we're here. To try the chosen. And they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. And hear ye, O my beloved, saith the Most High, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. I will deliver you from the same. Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for God is your guide. Navigate. That's where I got the word from. The Most High will guide us. And the guide of them who keep my commandments and precepts, saith the Most High God Ahia. Let not your sins weigh you down, and let not your iniquities lift up themselves. Because in an opportunity, when all that stuff was going on last year, the wicked became more wicked. Sinners had more money and all that, didn't have to go to work, and they didn't take time to reflect and get their houses together and say, you know what? It's time to bunker down and hunker down for the Most High. They took that as a space, freedom, liberty to do more wickedness. Let not your sins weigh you down, and let not your iniquities lift up themselves. Woe be to them that are bound with their sins and covered with their iniquities. Like as a field is covered over with bushes, and the path thereof covered with thorns, that no man may travel through. It is left undressed, and is cast into the fire to be consumed therewith. Hey, we told you it was coming, and here we are. That concludes our last week. Our this week's report. Mark of the Beast report, the homeless phase of the mark. Hold tight, and I'm gonna answer the phones. One moment. Let me pull up the phones here. All right, Blog Talk. Here we go. Okay, go live. Present time. Okay, one moment, y'all. Let me go. All right, Blog Talk. All right, I'm going to open up the lines in the studio here. All right, let me open it up. Go live now. Yeah. All right. The homeless phase of the beast. Hold on. Let me type it in here. The homeless phase of the beast. Wake up, Israel. All right, here we go. Israel. Hopefully, Blog Talk doesn't mess me up here like it did the other day. It just went blank, but it's messing up here, but it's okay. We'll pray through it. One moment. Ohio's calling back Israel. Whoa, okay, here we go. Here we go. All right, let's do it. All right, 515-605-9327 for those who would like to come in, okay? Blog Talk.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please enter your...
Can't do it that way. Let's see. I'll do it this way here.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please enter your host PIN. When finished, press the pound key.
All right, one moment.
The PIN you entered does not match the PIN you have on file for your account. Please re-enter your PIN.
All right, 1 second, y'all. All right, let's see how we're gonna do this here. Let's see. All right. Let's see. All right.
To start your show now, press 1. To hear important...
Since it appears you're calling back into a live show, we are reconnecting you now.
Okay, for those who would like
Your
to...
show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, great. We're live with
Blog Talk Radio.
Blog Talk Radio. We're going to keep it on the topic, please. I can only take a few calls, so we're going to keep it on topic. The homeless phase of the mark. I'd like to thank you all for being loyal Patreon members which support the church. Tell your family about it. I'm going to be covering information that's seldom touched on in detail through YouTube, okay? I'm going to save a lot of that for here, okay? And the Academy. So, 714 area code, okay? Shalom, 714.
Shalom, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. The floor is yours. Name and location?
Brother Darrell, San Antonio body.
Okay, shalom, brother. Yeah, hey, you see what with the topic, the homeless phase of the mark. What say you?
Sure. I just had a question. Have you heard of the movie called Cell?
Cell?
Yeah.
Who starred in it? I think it's something familiar, but go ahead. I think I heard about it.
Jackson.
I heard about that at a time in that movie where they're at an airport, and I didn't see the movie, but I know it's connected with cell phones. What you have to say about that?
Yeah, Con. So when you get a chance, it came out in like 2016. So what happened was everybody had a frequency that played on all of their cellular devices. And once you heard it, it triggered something in your head, and you would go crazy and start killing everybody who wasn't affected by it. But the thing in the movie is there was 5G towers all throughout the movie.
Okay.
And also, yeah, and what I realized was everybody that was affected was actually the people who took the stuff, because there was one guy with a red hoodie on that the star kept having a dream about, but he can see through everybody's eyes who was affected, and he could project his message through their mouths. You get what I'm saying? So it's a very, very deep movie, and it got a lot to do with what's going on now. But if you do get a chance, I meant to tell you this the other night, but definitely check that movie out.
You know what? I'm gonna put that on my my list of movies to look at. I really appreciate it, brother. It's called The Cell. I think
it's free on YouTube.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out. Thank you, brother. And I think your rock put me down with it, but I never had an opportunity to sit down and actually view that. So I'm going to put that on a list of many things, but yeah, I have to see that because usually they give you some information through predictive programming on what they're planning and what they'll do in the midst of those events. 432 area code. If you have something to say online on Blog Talk, please hit the 1. Hit the 1. I'm sorry, 432. There's a lot of kids going on back there. Someone took someone's cookie, so get that together. If you have question or comment, hit 1. Hit the number 1 in queue, so I'll know that you have a question or comment. Okay. All right, 252 area code. 432 area code. They hit the 1. All right, great. 432. You're live.
I'm back. I got Shalom, Elder. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Your name and location.
Christian in Texas.
Okay. The floor is yours, Chris.
That movie, The Cell, you should definitely watch it. I watched it about 2 months ago. That movie is on point to exactly what's going on right now. So definitely check the movie out when you get a chance.
It's on my wheelhouse. Thank you, brother. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. You got cut off. What?
Just to add to what, to the lesson, great lesson as usual. Thank you for bringing that out for the congregation so we can learn and grow and mature in this walk.
Yeah.
So thank you, Dawada.
Well, thank you, brother, and thank you for all the support you've continually have done with the church. And man, get ready because hey, it's your time. Let's do it. So we're going to be talking about growing these men and doing what it takes to finish. Okay.
So, and I have one question before I go. Would you be able to tell me the locations in Isaiah 11, or is that specifically at a right time in the right place type thing?
Well, the locations can be easily figured out. You can use your Bible dictionary and see those locations.
I've tried for like Hamath and like I knew Assyria was Assyria, Egypt was Egypt, but it was like I had to even ask one of the officers, but he knew a couple of them, but it was another like the Isles of the Sea. I couldn't figure out if that was the Greek islands or if that was
the Isles of the Sea.
Or like
the Isles of the Sea are the Greek islands. So when you look at those areas, all those areas in a nutshell, to make it simple for you, they all border the Great Sea, which is the Mediterranean Sea. Every last one of them. The Mediterranean Sea will be the last body of water that's still, living. The majority of the earth waters will be dead by that time. But the Mediterranean Sea, which is the Great Sea, will be one of the rare bodies of water that still has living creatures and living life and food in it. All throughout those areas will be the gathering after the fallout.
And this is that an okay place to live after the war? You're saying that's an okay place to live after the war, the last war?
Well, what I'm saying is there'll still be people living there. Now, when it comes to individual scenarios on where to go and what to do and whether or not I should sustain in a situation or a place, myself, I would never go to a place without that hasn't been supported or the church haven't been set up. I would never roll as an individual. So keep in mind, the Most High tell us that in Jeremiah that he would send out he-goats before the flock. Mm-hmm. When we first went out, went into the areas, hey, the Most High had a greater plan than even we were seeing at that time. We were fulfilling prophecy, setting up churches so that when it's time, we don't have to scramble and figure out where to be. It's the place we grew roots, that we developed friendships, that we established churches with. So what's to say you go into an area because it'll still be there when Christ returns, but there's no support group there, and whatever happens, you get in prison or hurt without any support, thinking that you were fleeing trouble, when you end up running into death. So to sit there and look at those areas, now the reason why I have to say it that way, I'm not saying you would do that. Understand that when I'm teaching.
No, I know you got people
yeah,
that would.
I got thousands of people listening. And if I was to say, listen, brother, here's the areas that will be safe, you have someone look at that and they'll look at those maps and they'll go and call me from over there and say they're there already. And I'll be like, well, I see you in the kingdom. Adios. Because we don't roll like that. So when people ask broad questions, because don't forget, when it comes to fleeing and all that, you have a lot of nut jobs and a lot of people operating in the spirit of wickedness and all that. You see what's going on over there in Jordan. That girl was never a part of me or this church. But she and others has a concentrated focus. And I know why, because her daddy that rules this world, okay? But they have a concentrated focus on me because why? Because I'm a key component in this earth, okay? When it comes to bringing forth this understanding. I understand that what we're bringing, we are a key component on this earth when it comes to what's going on in this truth. We picked up the plow and began to follow and teach this word. So I know what we're up against. We're up against the pits of hell. But the Most High told Peter, he says, listen, I'm going to give you the keys and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. So you have to realize you got a lot of people out there who have went out there on a limb by themselves with expectations from us that wasn't under us. Okay. So what they'll do is in these countries, when you go in these countries, brother, it's a survival of the fittest. Now that you're not under a church or any level of union that support you, you got to survive out there. And like that sister, she got to hustle her way into surviving like other people. They have to now use this fleeing as an option to get a cut every time somebody come around them. So that's what this has become for some people. So you have, so respect the fact that I'm not reprimanding or saying that. I'm giving you the knowledge of when I put stuff out like that, you'll have 3 or 4 people like her and like others who would look at that as what? An opportunity to use our ministry to focus on people who are afraid or whatever the case is, to financially grandize themselves for the sake of survival. You understand?
Oh, Elder, I totally agree with you. And
all
just
right.
to add to what you're saying, I read in the book of Jasher, the people that decided to try to like pre-bounce before the actual Exodus, they were all done. So I had no intentions on pre-bouncing. I just wanted to know, when the body moving. So
okay.
So I know when to be out.
All right. Well, if you're in the academy, I'm going to go down all of those areas in Isaiah 11. I'll do that tomorrow. No problem.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. I can do that tomorrow. But, understand, I'm guarded knowing the evils that people are using when it comes to fleeing. They're taking what I'm saying, but they're using it like, well, okay, if there's a number of people who are afraid out there, look, follow me, come with me. And now I can now set up and get a cut every time I lead somebody into Neverland. And going to try to say Ahia in Yeshaya just so that people that are fairly new could loosely believe that these people had something to do with us from the beginning. And they didn't. So I'm guarded. So that's what shepherds do. Shepherd protects the flock. They don't put out things where they can be ravished by some lone wolves out there who are looking at our church for opportunity. Okay?
Hey, Elder, I want to apologize. I guess I asked the question immaturely, not really thinking about the others. So I apologize for asking the question, brother, listen. I wasn't trying to put you in a defensive.
Brother, listen. You don't have to apologize. I'm not defensive. I believe it was a great question because I believe the Most High.
Okay.
The Most High, brings forth information because maybe there's someone listening who considered operating by themselves and going by themselves and not realizing it. Tell you in the scriptures, he didn't just send Israel into the land of Canaan. Joshua and Caleb sent spies into the land to understand what they were up against. They never left the camp. It wasn't people randomly in the camp of Israel just operating for the sake of freedom or whatever. So that's why in Jeremiah it states, I will send you out as he-goats before the flock. There's a lot of things that are going to be going down in the earth that's going to lead to panic. And people will be reacting out there in panic mode. So there's a lot of splinters and not splinters, a lot of people circling and orbiting our church who are really not against our church, but but are looking at an opportunity to prey on those who might be afraid, who know that this church is teaching the truth. And we have a lot of orbiters. Another guy just popped up, like I said. He's from Scotland. A young boy. He don't know anything. Okay, the boy's confused. But I don't even know the guy. And now he's in the wilderness somewhere, totally aimed on me, and I don't even know the dude. So this is what happens. They can't get any type of traction alone. But they know that there's a large following of this church, but they're just too carnal to not understand what it takes to build something from nothing when you're guided by the Almighty. You can see something and make an opinion on it after it's finished. But by doing so, you don't appreciate it. You never appreciate what it took in the beginning. See? And that's why I wanted to put out there, brothers and sisters, especially those who are coming to the truth right now. A lot of people are coming in. Watch the orbiters who claim to somehow sideways make their self close to the gathering of Christ Church, or they're the church verifiers. It's through them and their knowledge and understanding, which is higher, obviously, that everything must be measured. Watch the orbit. I'm going to call them satanic orbiters. All right. Thank you, brother. So, brother, never apologize for an honest question. You don't have to explain yourself, okay?
I got you.
All right. Bless you.
Bless you.
Good brother, man. Good brother. 984 area code. Shalom.
Hi. Hey, Elder, how are you?
I'm blessed by the best, and his name is Ahia. Talk to us.
Okay, so right now as we speak, over in Australia, I don't know if you guys have been hearing about what's going on in Australia with the whole lockdown. So right now as we speak, they're gathering 24,000 children, and they're putting them in like this building on government property, and their parents are not allowed to go in there. These are elementary kids from all the way to high school kids, okay? Their parents are not allowed to go on the premises, and they're forcing the kids to get vaccinated against their parents' wishes.
Okay.
It's a lot of
listen. I understand you're dealing with a lot of what I would call excited emotion. But I'm trying to keep this Patreon page. What you didn't know is that we had to, as a church, take down some videos because why? Patreon said that some of Patreon put our page on hold because they said, listen, we cannot dissuade people from making choices on their own or persuade people. Okay, so the whole deal is we can talk about what's going. Okay, there's a lot of activity, sister. Okay, I'm sorry, sister. I got to go to the next call. There's a lot of background noise. When you're using that word and saying certain things, you have to understand how it's going to affect our page. Okay. Yes, we told you they're setting the stage where they can get children and separate from their parents and all that and do what they want to do. But guess what? They were able to do that over in Australia because years ago, they were able to bring forth laws that would take away Australia's right to protect themselves, you know, with what? Legal protection, to bear arms. When you take that away, everything else eventually folds with it. But thank you, sister. We're trying to keep our page, okay? And you know, we can bring forth information without being so emotionally dramatic. All right. 406, but I thank you for your call, sister. 406.
Shalom, Elder.
Shalom. It's the Gathering of Christ Church, Elder Ricard Shiar. How can I help you?
Yes, Elder, I was calling to make comment on the lesson. I'm in Montana, and this is a very timely lesson. We noticed that with the mandates and everything, we noticed that the governor was not doing any mandates, and how they come up with this board of the city commission to be over the health department. There's no mandates being pushed, but we have protests and things going on from schools that are still mandating. And I just want to say, Tawada, for your lesson and timely information, because I did make the move of pulling my son out of public school so that he didn't have to.
Let me stop it right there. Listen, I'm trying to keep my page, right? So the way you say it is, listen, you know, there's a lot of crazy things out there, so I think it's more advantageous for me as a parent. I'm going to homeschool my child, you know what I mean, and to keep my child close. You put it like that, it's something that I can accept, you can accept, and it's not that this, what we're saying, persuaded you to do something with your child. We have to watch how you say. No, I'm just saying, sister, what you don't understand is that we're going through something with Patreon now. Okay. Where if certain things are said, they can stop us from actually operating here too. So
well, let me rephrase that then for the sake of the page.
Yeah, thank you.
What I was stating was that, like, with the regular media coming out and everything coming out of there, and then the lessons and putting everything together, we made that sound decision. And to see everything being tossed to and fro, dodging that bullet is what I'm saying. With the different informations that's coming out of everywhere, and I wasn't quite understanding how these laws and mandates took effect until I noticed these commission offices and everything being created around these basic settings of offices that we're all familiar with, or most of us. And I'm just taking all this in, and I just wanted to say thank you for the extra information. You know, because a lot of this information that we do get is coming from the local media and the news, and it's not making sense.
I can understand that, sister. And another thing on that is, like, what you're doing, is to be commended. When I say that, when you don't know what to do, what must we do? We must circle.
Sit still.
No, sit still, but we should circle the wagons now. In a world of fragility now, where they're teaching kids all types of weird stuff outside of your traditional religious values or whatever, it's time to circle the wagons. It means everything in my power will be under my control. My children are under my control. So I don't know what's going on out there in schools and all that, but I'm going to make it where my children are as close to me as possible.
Yes, sir.
My family is close to me as possible. It's about circling the wagon. So, sister, I commend you on this. So when you don't know what to do, what they did during the time of the Cowboys and Indians, right? They were surrounded on every side.
Still happening. It's still happening. We have so many children that are coming up missing.
Hey, sister, it's time to circle the wagons and protect our children with everything in us. If we don't trust the school or whatever the case is, it's your power to now come in and say, you know what? I don't know where this is going, but my child isn't going with it. Thank you, sister. I appreciate it.
Elder. Thank you.
Hey, in the bar. Great call. Great call. 816 area code. 816 area code. You're live.
Shalom, Elder. This is Sister Tamar from Kansas City.
Hey, how are you?
I just wanted to say I'm blessed by the best, and you know his name is Ahaya.
Great.
I just wanted to say thank you for a timely lesson. I just wanted to let you know that, there's a lot going on in Kansas City. I recall not too long ago, there was the homeless people were camping out on City Hall, on the front lawn of City Hall. Because in protest of the conditions here.
Sister, but let me make that clear. Everything I know, a lot of these things are actually propagated through these organizations. It's not like these homeless people.
Yeah,
they're not organized enough to say, you know what? Let's all. If they was that organized and had their cognitive senses together, they wouldn't be outside homeless. Someone else is organizing that chaos as a protest. What we need to see is what laws come out of it. What laws come out of it. So that's why I want my brothers and sisters not just to be biblically sound when it comes to God's law. We got to understand the laws of the country you're living under, because there are some sovereign laws that people died for, that our forefathers died for, that aligns with God laws, which protects us from tyranny. Now, if you don't know laws, you're going to allow these mandates to have you voluntarily give them up. So I wanted to put it out there. When you understand all of this, it's become clear when someone is bringing what? In Hegelian dialectic. Bringing a problem so that we can react, so that the same people who created the problem comes with the solution. And usually that solution ends with you losing a freedom. Just putting that out there. But go ahead, sister.
So with that being said, that was just one of the observations that I had made. It's just kind of tying into, like you said, that Hegelian dialectic.
Yeah.
I was wondering, since we seem to be exhibiting some persecution now on this platform, if you had considered BitChute and Rumble, which are free and don't seem to, and it seemed like a lot of the quote unquote truth community truthers are kind of on that as well. So I didn't know if you had heard of those. Additional consideration.
I did consider that, but I love the other features that Patreon affords us. That's why I wanted to keep this, because
I had noticed that too.
Yeah, there's a lot of features that Patreon, I'm like, you know what, we need to go there, right? Mm-hmm. So and it gives us a greater level of exclusivity, a greater, and I like that exclusivity that's separate from these other just throwing stuff online and letting people see it. Nah, I love this exclusive exchange and what Patreon has to offer on that. So, I mean, just tell your family about it. It's cheap to be a part of this. And it's really, I mean, I love this interaction, and and I love this interaction. So yes, I think she dropped. I'm sorry about that, sister. You dropped. Okay, 469 area code. Shalom. 469 area code. Okay, no one there. I'm gonna go down the line, take a few more calls. 714 area code.
Oh, sorry, Elder. I was still on the call. We had already spoke.
All right, I'm sorry. All right, let's go down the line here. Hit 1 if you would like if you have a question or comment. 252 area code. Let me work my way up here. 252.
Yes. Hello.
You're live with the Elder Ricard, myself. You're live.
Yeah. Yes, I was calling.
Gathering Christ Church.
I know you said. Hello.
Yeah, the floor is yours.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I was calling. I know you said sell topic. Okay, I was calling. I have been following the church for a while, and where I live at, it's not a church in my area, so I just wanted to know, how can I link up with the church?
You send an email to goccbaptisms@gmail.com. Baptisms with an S. Now, how long ago did you send that email?
Yeah. I sent it like last month, but where I live, it's not a church in my area.
It doesn't matter. We can still set you up with baptism and get you led through our regions. So do me a favor, sister. Okay. Send me another email, goccbaptisms@gmail.com. Put in the subject urgent baptism, and then within the content place, I've spoken with Elder Ricard Shiar. I need a baptism and a church family. The regional elder will contact you to get you into our classes that we have for those who don't have a locale at the time. And that will eventually transition you into a body once we're there, if one comes there. But there's things you could be participating in now, even outside of a locale. Okay, you don't want to miss out on those things. Okay, and baptism, you definitely don't want to miss out on that. So we need to deal with that first and get you in, transitioning in, so that when a local body is there, you'll have a place to go. Or in the state of an emergency, you can be guided through the regions. Okay?
Okay, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Right.
Thank you, sister.
Thank
Bless
you.
you. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Great. 216 area code.
Hi, Elder. How are you?
I'm doing well, but there's an echo happening. Can you turn your speakerphone off?
Yes. Is this better?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Yeah, I've been trying to get in contact with you for a while, Elder, and I just wanted to know at I Am Apparel, do you have anything like business cards or something like that? Because I actually talk to a lot of people because I drive all over the world. I drive for Greyhound, and they hear your lesson the same time I do because I actually play it on the speaker on my bus.
Okay.
And people are listening, and they be saying, "Who is that you're listening to? Who's that you're listening to?" And if I could order some business cards from I Am Apparel when I get off the bus, and people ask me, who are you listening to, I could actually give them a card to your website or whatever. So do they have anything like that at I Am Apparel?
Okay. Now, not I Am Apparel, but Gathering of Christ Church. That's a good idea. Maybe we can make out some Gathering of Christ Church business cards and have people be able to get them in bulk, and we can just we'll pay for it and send them out. As long as the postage on your side, we can give them to you, and you can give them out so that they'll know where the site is, where to find us, flyers and business cards. That's something that I'll definitely put on a docket, sister. Definitely. Great idea.
Yes, I would love that. You know, I would even pay for it myself if necessary, because like I say, a lot of people just like what I listen to when I'm on the bus, you know.
Okay. Well, as long as we have postage, you know, you as long as you take care of the postage, we'll send you a pack of them. We have the printers and all that. We might well put those things to use to actually get the word out. So you suggested that. We'll make it so.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Elder.
You're welcome.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Be
Great
blessed.
idea. Thank you, sister. Great idea. All right. Please, I understand you had an idea, but I would like to keep things on. Great idea, though. 412 area code. Let's go. 412.
Shalom, Elder.
Shalom. Was you chest on or no?
Elder.
Were you chest on?
No.
All right.
No.
Floor is yours. Your name, sister, and location?
Sharina, Pittsburgh.
Okay. All right. The floor is yours.
I just had great lesson today, and as well as Wednesdays as always.
Praise the
So
Most High.
my comment is I was listening to the book of Adam and Eve last night, and I'm just thinking pretty much how they got kicked out of the Garden of Eden is pretty much how we're gonna have to operate when we get kicked out of Babylon.
Okay.
And just constantly talking to the Most High, like how Adam and Eve was, in communication with them, even though they was kicked out of the garden.
Well, that was more from an individual basis because they were the first two people. I understand that staying connected with the Most High, but that connection starts here. Because once the disciples received the Holy Spirit on the day of Pentecost, on the day of first fruit, it made it where all people over the earth, no matter where, can now have access to the Most High and thought conversation. And our conversations now are the conversations that continues beyond here. So I understand what you're saying, but you have to understand that was a different time and a different mode of communication when the gate of heaven was really right there. Right? Man was still able to communicate directly with the Father. But as sin arose in the earth, that communication has become what? Has become far off. There's a chasm in between, just like if you start this way, a little crack, as you go further, there's a separation, the further we get away from the beginning. So that communication isn't the same as it was with Adam. But through the Holy Spirit now, how we communicating now through the Holy Spirit, receiving the Holy Spirit, is how we'll be communicating until we see him. Okay? But great point.
Okay.
All right.
I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it possible, can you smell spirits?
I don't know.
When you if somebody's walking past you or going past you, you can smell their spirit.
Well, it depends. Like I said, there's different senses and different gifts for all different type of people. The sense of smell, the sense of sight, and I'm sure all of those things has some type of spiritual component to it.
Okay.
But I'm sure there's probably someone with those gifts who have a keen sense of smell or know when something, there's an off odor, a poltergeist type odor. I'm sure there's some people who can sense that. But it depends on and that falls into the diversity of different gifts, where certain senses, people have certain senses and gifts with their senses. You know what I mean? But I'm glad I don't have one of those because Babylon stinks as it is, right? Well, thank you. I'm glad I got the sense of understanding, right? Go open at the Bible, and when I pray, the Most High open and understand. And I'm glad because I don't want no odorous imposition going on in the spirit. I don't know, so I'm good on that. 682 area code.
Shalom, Elder.
Shalom, you're live with the Gathering of Christ Church.
Yes, I noticed when I read the book of Josephus how hard-headed people were. God, the Most High told them to scatter the land, and they disobeyed. They sat and built a tower. Then they end up having to do what the Most High tell them anyway.
Yeah.
It just kind of speaks to what's going on now. Like a lot of people just don't, they want to do their own thing instead of what the Most High, tell them to do.
Hey, that's what it. Hey,
getting these people.
The whole thing is to some degree, brother. I respect people's choices, no matter how much I disagree and understand the consequences for them. I respect people's choices because the Most High says what? Christ said what? Either be hot or cold. Either be hot or cold. And he says, listen, hot or cold is making a choice. Satan made a choice, and guess what? He's going to suffer for that choice and those who follow him. So I respect those who make their choices outside of following God's law. Because who have to live with their choices? You? Me? No. They have to live with those choices. So I can respect it. At least they chose us. They chose a side. They chose a master. I would rather you outright show that you chose that master than hang around with me as if you're down with the God we serve. And like I said, even one dude online, he's attacking us now and over there from England because he took the Jews. And he's mad at me. I don't got nothing to do with that.
Right.
But he followed his master. That's on him. All right. Thank you, brother.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Great point.
No problem.
Next call. 302.
Hello.
Shalom. How are
Bless
you?
you, Elder. I'm great. I'm Lydia, and I am from Delaware. And I just would like to thank you for all the edification. And the topic was on point, the homeless phrase of the mark. Wow. I mean, you spoke about you receiving a lot of offers during the pandemic, and I can definitely relate to that. I mean, they were actually coming in the mail. I mean, even my car payment, they even wanted me to not to pay 4 or 5 months of my car payment. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
And, because I had the money, I mean, that is really being greedy. When you have the money to pay your rent or whatever other bills you have to pay, do it, but a lot of us are so tempted and gullible and not paying attention, and that's what happens, And also, I would like to thank you for your 12 Tribes of Israel sweatshirt. I purchased 4 of them. I brought my 2 sons and my husband and myself, and I even purchased the mask for the female and the T-shirt, and they are on the way.
Praise the Most High.
I am really grateful for you, and actually, I'm originally from Philadelphia, South Philadelphia.
Okay,
And,
I get that little Philly accent. It's distinct, yeah. But go on.
Yes, but and I pivoted through the pandemic, because the market for your homes, people were losing their homes, and I was able to pivot to sell my home and get a great price and save some money, so I was blessed by that,
Okay.
And so and also I would like to know, I live in Delaware, but I would like to, attend some of your services.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
I am baptized. I'm baptized already.
You're baptized in the church?
Not your church, but through another church in Philadelphia.
Oh, no. You got to be baptized in the church. What church were you a part of?
Pastor Gino Jennings.
Okay, that's great. That's great. I hope the brother do fine.
Yeah.
So it's like this.
Yeah.
You got to be baptized in the name of Ahaya, Bahashim Yeshaya, Warawak. And we can baptize you, sister. Don't worry about it. Come into the. We have a great bishop here, also Bishop Amath. There's a program we go through where with the baptism we show you, because usually in the church they dunk you in water, not letting you know what you're actually getting into, how to sustain with this baptism. So we like to give people full disclosure of what this means, knowing that diverse temptations comes once you're baptized. So you're going to find it's a different experience here. Okay. The other thing is, I'm not going to say it's better, because I'm sure you were upfront and true to the baptism that happened under Jenkins. But the Bible tells you, even those that were under John the Baptist, when they met the disciples, they had to be rebaptized. Okay? So we'll do that for you. And we have some people in Delaware that are part of the Philly body. And I think you can travel to our church here in Philly. It's only it's about 35 minutes away from Delaware. So it's a hop, skip, and a jump.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
Okay.
What do I need to do?
Let me write down your number. I got it here. Let me write it down. Let me have your name again, sister.
Lydia, Lydia.
Lydia.
Last name Bass. Yes, Lydia.
Lydia. Lydia. Okay, I don't need your last name. I'll write down your number. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, sister. And another point you made. Yeah. They were offering me all types of stuff in the mail, banks and all that, and saying, well, listen, if you need a relief on this or that and the other, you want a PPO loan. Like I said, I have businesses. The church is my main work, and this is my business for the Most High and sacrifice for the Most High. But the money I make, my money is made separate in business and everything else I deal with. And I'm gonna tell you this, sister. They were sending all types of PP loan reliefs and all that, but they knew our people were gonna eat that up. And at the end of the day, let me ask you this: did you buy or did you rent when you went to Delaware?
I purchased this home.
Smart. Okay. And the reason why I say it's smart, they're moving, seem like things are moving into a more socialistic society where there's really a gentrification of all the Western world, and they're targeting America. And you'll see signs all over the place. I'll buy your house for cash and all these things.
Right.
If you don't own your own, you're at the behest of the power structure. Okay, and the reason why they can't
say that again?
You're at the behest of the power structure when it comes to your abode or where you'll live if you don't own. Because at any time, things can change where your landlord may sell it to someone else, and now it disturbs the relationship between you and whoever you're paying your money to. Or altogether, something may happen where they're, where now your landlord, he can get a mandate and say, well, listen, hey, you can't live in my place because you decided to follow what they said, and now I'm being pressured to make sure all my tenants are juiced, right? So I'm just saying it's best to have as much control over your life as possible. And the major point about that is what? Least debt as possible. Least debt as possible.
Wow.
And make sure you own your own, because this is how it works. And I've dealt with this on an international market, sister. It's smart because we're now under a world economy. Just say something happens where now you got your passport, whatever the case is, and you got to go into another country, whatever the case is, and do business. Now you have an asset that you can actually rent out or sell to parlay into where you'll be when it's time. Resources. Or you can turn it into tangible resources that you can barter with when it's time. But to have nothing, because keep in mind, either way you're paying, whether or not it's rent or mortgage. And I found that I wasted more money. I wasted more money paying rent than owning. Because what? I was building equity for some other people who would leave property to their children. And I was looking up and saying, well, do I have anything to leave my family? No. I was just throwing money. I was throwing money. Don't forget, even when Shapat was here, we was all living and sharing. We were paying thousands a month and just throwing it into a hole. And it was this Jewish guy we were renting from. And I thought about it. And looking at his child, I'm like, listen, this place will probably be his sons or daughters when they grow. And I'm just throwing money to them that's not building any equity. So I just wanted to put that out there. We have to think smart. We're paying rent anyway.
Absolutely.
Why not pay something that you can use as an asset? Even when you travel, you can actually make something on to sustain you. Great point, sister. Thank you. All right.
Yes, and one more other thing.
Yeah.
Just thank you. Listen, I want to thank you for edifying the passport as well, because that made me go look at my passport and it had expired.
Great.
So, and my husband's too. So we both went and renewed our passports, because that's a necessity too. That's
Absolutely.
important too.
Great.
Passports.
That was smart. That was smart.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sister. See, they up on it. Bless you. Bless you. So, Lydia, I'm going to give your number to Bishop Amath. He'll call you up, okay? A matter of fact, I can do that real quick right here, because I have so many things on my plate. My mind be all over the place, so make sure I do this now. And then I can only take one or two more calls. I thought that these things will be 1 hour, but you know me. Let's see. Okay. All right, there we go. All right. Yeah, man. Unfortunately, man, I heard Geno Jennings is juiced up. He's juiced up now. May the Most High preserve him. Let's see. I can take one or two more calls, and then I have to call it a night, okay? Sabbath is coming in soon. 202 area code.
Hey, Shalom, Elder. How you doing, sir?
I'm blessed by the best, and his name is Ahia. Talk to us.
Hey, this is Brother Jeff from the DMV body.
Bless you, brother.
Just for the past, thank you, sir. For the past, I don't know, for the past month or so, you've been really keying in on 2 Esdras 16, talking about the stupor and the confusion, the great confusion, and how the plagues won't return.
Yeah.
Things along those lines. Just to speak on that stupor and the confusion. Just last week, when they were talking, and I'm trying to guard my words carefully. I understand.
Thank you.
Protect the parameters that.
Protect your channel. You want to be able to have this interaction here? Yeah, but come on.
Yeah. So just speaking on the confusion, and the stupor.
Yeah.
For last week, they've been really keying in on, people should do it. People should do it. So you understand what I'm saying when I say it like that?
Well,
people should go ahead and take it.
Yeah, they're urging the mandate, but go on. They're suggesting.
Right.
They're suggesting the mandate. Go ahead.
Right. They're suggesting the mandate, and then they'll come out and say, well, people that have done it, there's still a chance for them to catch it.
Well, yeah,
and so with that going on.
Well, yeah, they're right out saying, listen, just because you're doing it doesn't mean you won't get it. That's common sense.
Right.
Just because if I was to take something for a cold doesn't mean that I'm not going to catch a cold. It's just saying what they're saying is, if you get it and come down with it later, you'll have less symptoms. That's what they're saying out there. But go on.
Well, so with that understanding, people are still people are still choosing to make that choice to do what they feel as though they think they need to do.
It's their choice.
But just last week, the CDC came out and said, well, look, because at first they were blaming the so-called uptick in cases is due to the people who didn't do it.
Okay.
But now they're saying the CDC is now saying, well, the people that have done it, they carry as much, I think I could say viral load, as the people who didn't do it.
Okay.
So my point is that it's enough information out here to prove that can poke holes in all their narratives, but people are still choosing to believe the lie.
See, but it's like
and
this,
if that's not a super
brother. That is, but this is what I'm saying, and I'm going to say it like this because I've been really thinking on this, right? And I'm talking about the prophetic, the biblical impact and how we should be viewing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even before this, those who didn't follow the Most High has always made what? Unintelligent decisions. So this is nothing different. So all in all, we have to just let them do what they're doing. Because the reality is, and like I said, it comes down to this. And I said it earlier. The government, the CDC, whoever they are, they never force anyone to do anything. The president, the governor, your employer, no one have ever forced anyone to do anything. So it comes a time where we got to look at it and say, this is prophecy.
Right.
People who haven't served the Most High and haven't sought the Most High are where the Most High said they were going to be and are making the decisions the Most High said that unbelievers would make. And I'm going to leave it there.
Right.
And that's why I started this off with, I don't even though I'm not even, we're talking about the homeless part about they shall kick you out and all that in the future. I'm off this stuff with the plague altogether, to tell you the truth, because the reality is anyone who read the Bible would know what time we're in and would do anything they could to navigate through what? The beast system. We have to make up in our own mind what components are a part of the mark of the beast plans. And whatever components they are, it doesn't matter. I've read the Bible to understand what's God's and what belongs to this world. And a believer will trust on God more so than this world. Because again, the government, governors, all that, they have never forced anybody, even employers, they have never forced anybody to get anything. They said it's a mandate, and we're upholding a mandate. And people looked at it and responded to it. That's their choice. They have to live with their choices. That's it. Okay. Hold up real quick. The example I gave, and I'll let you have the last word. The example I gave is they can say one thing today, and as you've just eloquently shown, they can say something else tomorrow. But they have the right to do that.
Right.
They have the right to do that. They can, as information come, things change. Just the same way they can say, well, today's variant is one thing. Tomorrow they can say about a variant, and they'll be like, well, what I said concerning that variant is different than what this variant is doing. So they got the right to do that.
Right.
What I'm saying is people have to look at it and make a conscious decision on what's right according to God. Because it can change. Everything could change from day to day. I'm no longer going to be caught up into the wave of all the voices and noises. I'm hearing the Most High, and now I'm focused and will be guided by Him. And that's why Christ said, Christ told that rich man. I mean, Christ, not the rich man. Christ told that man who said, well, listen, let me come get down with you, brother. And you know, I'm willing to follow you, but I need to go back here and, you know, bury my father. And Christ said what? Let the dead bury the dead.
Let the dead bury the dead.
Because the living would make choices according to what? The word of God. Okay. The living understands that living comes from and health comes from the Most High. So the Bible says, let the dead bury the dead. 9 times out of 10, you can't dissuade anyone from the decision they've made for their personal life and life choices. It comes down to it. I'm not going to shame people. Say, listen, that's your choice. You're serving your God. You're doing what's right for your home. I hope it works out. But you have the last word.
Yeah, I mean, just to end it out. I mean, and that's my resolve on it now. It's just it's a bitter pill to swallow. It's like my whole thing now is that, okay, I'm navigating, just like you just said, I'm navigating everything based off of what the scriptures say. So if the scriptures are saying that this is going to be days of great confusion, then I got to rely on a book that just rely on what the book is saying about it's going to be a confusing time.
Yeah.
You know, so
absolutely.
That's what I put my trust in. But at the same time, it's like I am watching a train wreck.
Yeah, we all are.
And it has the ability sometimes to just tug on the heartstring a little bit, not to dissuade me to take me off course, but it's just sad to watch.
Well, brother, if you think this is something,
and that's where I'm at.
If you think this is something, wait till you see the next phase. Wait till you see the homelessness that comes from people just sitting down, collecting checks, and not paying anything. Boy, wait till you see the next phase, because this is not going to be because of a disease or anything like that. It's going to be because people chose to sit down and believe that money was free. Wait till you see that phase. Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
That was wow. I'm going to take one more call, then we'll conclude it here. Take one more call. One moment.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please enter your host PIN. When finished, press the pound key.
All right, let's try this once more. Only a few more calls right here. A few more. Right. All right. Let's you can see.
The PIN you entered does not match the
One
PIN
second.
you have on file for your account. Please re-enter your
right.
PIN.
1 second, folks. 1 second.
To start your show now, press 1. To hear important...
Since it appears you're calling back into a live show, we are reconnecting you now.
Okay, last call. I apologize for that. Last call. 8850 area code. The computer just tripped out, but don't worry about it. I'm here. 850 area code. You're live.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. You're the last call for today. Talk to us.
I just want to know, I want to get baptized. And do you have a body close to Tallahassee?
We do. Send an email to goccbaptisms@gmail.com, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, my brother.
I love the lessons.
Praise the Most High.
Shalom.
Shalom. Last call. 216 area code. Last call. Shalom. Shalom. Last call. All right. So that concludes our broadcast. 214 area code. Shalom.
Hi.
Last call. How are you?
Shalom. Yes. I'm going to try to make it a good one, too.
Okay.
Elder, this is Sister D calling from the Los Angeles body.
Okay, how are you?
I'm great. I missed the scripture for Esdras to cast them out of their houses.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to ask you for your feedback on why they took such a powerful chapter, out of the Bible. I could kind of assume, but I love your commentary and just would like for you to expound on that a little bit to why they took the Apocrypha out of the King James Bible.
Okay.
And then if you could give me that Esdras scripture.
Okay, Esdras is at 2nd Esdras 16, starting at, let's get it. Starting at 70, the 16th chapter, the 70th verse down to the end.
Okay.
It should throw you out of your houses.
I went looking for it. Right,
Yeah.
right. I went looking for it on Google, and I'm like, I can't really find the scripture. So they've kind of, it's really, the book of Esdras is not really out there. Now I'm going to try my best to get the Apocrypha. I've been meeting the Apocrypha and see if maybe YouTube has someone who's actually reading the whole book of Esdras on YouTube, but then to see some of the scriptures that I did find on there for I know you have talked about this one in the Academy, for Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth.
Yeah.
And just kind of going over what is online, I'm like, man, this book is powerful. Those sneaky Edomites, they took it out.
Yeah, they understood that there was no way to fudge or to philosophize away the detailed information in the Apocrypha. It actually shows us the history from whence the white man gained power on earth. And that's the book of Maccabees. They tried to hide the origin of their first empire. That's number one. Number two, like scriptures like this, you can clearly see that it tells us what Esau and the other nations would conspire, how they would conspire and what would be the end result against Jacob under the New World Order. They had to take that out. So it's in Esdras. Even when they begin to put up white images and all that instead of the true images, black images of the Bible and in our Hebrew records, that's in the Apocrypha. So, I mean, it's a must have. Everything Christ talked about in Matthew 24 is broken down in detail within the book of Esdras. In detail. You take this, 2nd and 3rd Baruch, as well as other information like Enoch, and it gives you a full-fledged understanding of who's fighting against us, what gods Esau and the Gentiles are following in these false religions and their rituals and rites. And not only does it expose them, the gods they follow, it exposes what they're doing on a regular basis as far as their governmental construct and what their intentions are under that construct. But it also teaches us in this book the judgment on all those who have kept the information from us. Yes, it's
so deep.
So, of course, they looked at it, and it was nothing in this book that they could see and say, you know what? We can use philosophy and lie this away. This information was so damning on their philosophy called Christianity that they had to separate it from our community altogether. And above all, they did it because what? They're of their father, the devil. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Amen. Thank you.
All right. Well, blessed. We're over. That concludes our broadcast for today. I think it's our 5th Mark of the Beast report. They shall cast you out of your houses. And in particular, sister, the 72nd verse of Esdras 16, Esdras 16 and 72 is where it says, they shall cast you out of your houses. Okay? Which is really one step towards Zion. So I'm just showing you the political landscape. The political landscape that would lead to exactly this. With that, I'm going to say shalom. May the Most High be with you. Stay prayed up. Sin not. We will soon see Zion. And thank you again, all of our Patreon members and those who continually support the church, the Wada. We have a brand new lesson, the Hyksos period, the time, Israel's time in Egypt, which I'm going into this coming Sunday. And hey, of course we're going to do the Sabbath tomorrow, but I really would appreciate it if you would continue to support us through the Academy, through the Patreon, and thank you here, and also through our Cash App, which is $GOCC 144 donate. It's right on your screen. With that, I'm going to say shalom. May the Most High be with you. Thank you, AC, for helping us set this up today. Stay prayed up. Sin not. We will soon, of course, see Zion. Shalom. And thanks again, all my loyal Patreon members. You know we have to go out with a little music, right? To Zion.
To Zion. I was lost, but now I'm found. I'm a child of Israel. I heard the sound. Please give me the strength to stand today. With my eyes towards the east, show me the way.